Good morning friends, I am Ashis Agarwal from Team NGOenabler, and today I will be discussing on yet another important topic which might raise an alert for many charitable organizations out there, but at the same time bring clarity regarding the way ahead by clearing the misinformation and misinterpretations being circulated. We will discuss today on what next once the 12A registration is rejected. Before moving on to the topic, let me give you a brief background on the same. The charitable organizations require 12A registration for claiming tax exemption under the Income Tax Act. Earlier, the registration was used to be granted for lifetime unless cancelled or revoked by the relevant authority due to certain non-compliances. However, with effect from financial year 2021, the amendment was made and now the registrations are granted for a period of 5 years and needs to be renewed before the expiry. The organizations which were already registered under the old provisions got the registration merely by filing an application and no enquiry was conducted. The timelines were extended many times by the Central Board of Direct Taxes, and a lot of organizations which missed the previous deadlines benefited too by applying within various extended due dates. However, still many organizations were unable to take the benefit of these circulars and missed the timelines. Such organizations are reapplying for provisional one or direct for final registration. But is it the right way? Can they reapply? We will explain it later in this video. So please stay with us till the last if you don't want to miss any important point. Similarly, for many organizations, the application for registration is rejected due to delay in filing of application or non-submission of response or documents against the notice or questionnaire, or for any other reason. Such organizations too are either completely unaware what should be done next or are taking the incorrect path to resolve the matter due to misguidance or lack of awareness. So here we are today, handholding you on what should be the way forward once your application under section 12A is rejected for whatever reason it may be. Let's begin. Once your application for final 12A registration is rejected, remember you have only one option, that is to file an appeal with the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. As per the existing provisions of the Act, the order passed by Commissioner of Income Tax is non-appealable before the Commissioner of Income Tax appeals because they are considered at the same jurisdictional level. So, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, which we called ITAT, is the correct appealable authority in such a scenario. Now the question arises whether they can apply again for fresh 12A registration. Now here is the surprise. No, they cannot reapply for fresh registration, neither for provisional nor for directly final registration, if even once in the past they have claimed exemption. Let me explain it in detail. There are two scenarios where there is no option to reapply at all. Suppose yours is an organization which was registered under the old provisions but couldn't renew within the timelines provided. So of course, in the past you must have claimed the benefit of the exemption. Such organizations can neither apply for provisional registration nor they can directly apply for final registration as laid down in the provisions of the Act amended with effect from 1st October 2023. The only option available to them is to apply in form number 10A, but along with the condonation application as was explained in our previous video. If you haven't checked it out till now, you can click on the I button on the screen to watch it. Please note that I have said couldn't renew within the timelines. I repeat, I have mentioned couldn't renew within the timelines and not after the rejection, because for that the only option available is to file an appeal before Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Similarly, if you have claimed exemption on the basis of provisional one and your final registration gets rejected, you can no more reapply for fresh final registration also. Why? Let's check out the same directly from the Act to know why. Subclause 6 of Section 12A, subsection 1, clause AC states that in any other case where the activities of the trust or institution have, Part A, not commenced at least 1 month prior to the commencement of the previous year relevant to the assessment year from which the said registration is sought, and Part B says commenced and, please note, commenced and no income or part thereof of the said trust or institution has been excluded from the total income on account of applicability of subclause 4 or subclause 5 or subclause 6 or subclause 6A of clause 23C of section 10 or section 11 or section 12 for any previous year ending on or before the date of such application at any time after the commencement of such activities. So let me explain the subclause 6. Okay. You see, it's written not commenced, the word not commenced, which means why I said that the organizations who have claimed exemption on the basis of the provisional registration and now their final application is rejected cannot reapply for fresh registration because their activities have already commenced. Since they have applied for the final registration, it is clear that their activities have commenced. So they cannot again reapply for provisional registration because provisional registration can be applied only by those organizations whose activities have not commenced. It's clearly mentioned in Part A, not commenced, right? And since their activities have commenced and they have also taken the benefit of exemption on the basis of the provisional registration, they cannot apply in Part B also because in Part B it's mentioned commenced and no income has been excluded from the total income on the basis of the various sections written, which also include section 11 and section 12. That's why I mentioned that those organizations who have claimed exemption on the basis of the provisional registration, but now their final registration has been rejected, they cannot reapply at all. Similarly, the organizations which were registered under the old provisions also, they too must have claimed the exemption in those earlier years, and now since the timeline is over for the renewal of their old registrations, they also cannot apply in Part A or Part B because neither they fall under not commenced word nor they fall under commenced and have not claimed the exemption, right? In Part A and Part B, both they are not getting covered. So the only option left for such organization is to file an application under subclause 1 of section 12A subsection 1 clause AC along with the condonation application. But if their final registration is rejected, then the only option left is to file an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Now suppose if you have never claimed exemption in the past and your final registration gets rejected, you are still eligible to reapply for fresh final registration by filing under section code 4A in form 10AB as per the provisions laid down in the Act. The code relates to the registration under subclause 6 of clause AC under subsection 1 of section 12A. You might think, then what's the use of provisional registration if re-registration is not allowed after rejection? Provisional registration is only applicable for those organizations which have not yet started the activities. You remember in Part A it's mentioned not commenced. So the provisional registration is only applicable for those organizations which have not yet started the activities. Once you have started the activities, you are no more eligible for the application for provisional registration. You have to apply directly for the final registration under Part B, and that too only if you have not claimed exemption in any earlier year. So let's quickly summarize today's discussion. On rejection of application for 12AB registration, mainly the only option left is to file an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, because if exemption have been claimed in any earlier year and application for 12A registration is rejected, you are not eligible to reapply for fresh registration. I repeat, if exemption have been claimed in any earlier year and application for 12A registration is rejected, you are not eligible to reapply for fresh registration. However, if you have never claimed exemption in the past and your application gets rejected, you have two options. Reapply afresh for direct final registration under Part B of Subclause 6 or file an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. I am repeating the entire discussion again. On rejection of application for 12AB registration, mainly the only option left is to file an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, because if the exemptions have been claimed in any earlier year and application for 12A registration is rejected, you are not eligible to reapply for fresh registration, and this is very clear from the Subclause 6. However, if you have never claimed exemption in the past and your application gets rejected, you have only two options. In that case, you can reapply afresh for direct final registration or file an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. So I hope we have been able to provide you clarity and complete information on what should be your way ahead if your application for 12AB registration has been rejected. For more such updates, keep tuned to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe it and put your notifications on. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. Thank you.